And welcome to the Football 360 Show, your Tuesday night football fix. Talking all things football. Special thank you to Wendy's in Chesterfield, Missouri for sponsoring the Football 360 Show. You can find them in Chesterfield Valley, 18,000 Airport Road, Chesterfield Airport Road. Work hard, play hard. Wendy's is family owned and operated, known for their pizza, wings, and live entertainment. You'd have a great time inside or outside in the heated patio. Wendy's also has carry-out and online ordering available. Stop by and check them out. You won't be disappointed. Great food, a great time. And let them know that you heard about Wendy's on the Football 360 Show. I'm your host, JP Rock. He is your co-host, Matt Bierman. Matt, how you doing tonight?
Doing great, JP.
Great, as always, to be here talking football.
Yes, sir.
If people only knew, we talk on the phone. We have a hard time getting off the phone because we just won't shut up about football.
This is just an extension of that.
That's all it is. This is one of our phone calls. Us talking about football. So a lot of stuff going on in football across the state and region. Some of the topics we're going to hit tonight. We're going to talk high school football playoffs already here upon us.
They're here.
Hard to believe. I mean, you and I are like busy throughout the year, busy in the off season. Just seems like it was elite football combine time.
Yeah. Yeah. And then now we're looking and it's done. I mean, the season is April's season are going to be ending this Friday.
Hey, yeah. One and done.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see. Hopefully those seniors take full advantage of it.
It does. I really hate that though, especially with like what I do when I want to talk to the players following a game, because a lot of times, guys just don't want to talk. It is their senior year. They are done, and it's a hard pill to swallow.
It's emotional.
It is emotional. Very emotional. And, everybody's equal on paper. Well, not even on paper. In theory, everybody's going to be equal. However, some people are more equal than others. Yeah. And so we're going to talk about that a little bit tonight. It's kicking off not only Missouri, but also Illinois and Kansas as well this coming weekend. So a lot of good stuff there. Mizzou, they have a bye week this week, but 7-1 Mizzou, winning homecoming, 62,000 plus people. Were you there or were you? You're in the alum.
I had a game. I was at a game. So I usually don't get to go till like November.
Right.
So I go when it's nice and cold. But
you were coaching.
I was coaching. So yeah, we're looking forward to getting to some games here in the next coming weeks.
You were winning your own homecoming, right?
Yeah, we had a game this weekend.
High powered offense.
Put 32 points up first quarter.
Running the bone, right? The
wishbone? No. Low spread. Fun. A lot of fun.
It is a lot of fun. I actually saw some more middle school football, and it is a lot of fun.
It is.
There's some talent out there, man.
It is. I think it's fun to get to see these guys. Like the game day experience is really good at so many of these different programs, and getting to play on high school fields is pretty cool. And these guys, they work their butts off. I mean, same thing. A lot of the junior leagues, it's playoff time. For some leagues, it's like one and done, like just a single championship game.
Right.
Other leagues, it's 2-3 week playoff system. So, but that'll be coming to an end pretty quickly.
Oh yeah, there's some Super Bowls happening all weekend long this upcoming weekend. In fact, I have a nephew who's playing in one of them.
Oh, nice.
This coming up. So he's actually I've told you about him. He's a defensive lineman, right?
Big.
Big kid. They've moved him to fullback.
Oh,
they're gonna let him carry the rock.
Oh,
a little bit.
Yeah,
right?
That's good.
I know. I'm looking forward to that one. So Mizzou doesn't play until the 4th of November when they go against Georgia. We're going to talk about that, their upcoming schedule, how they're doing. How about Cody Schrader?
Oh, just
leading the SEC, the SEC
what a
in
story.
rushing.
Absolute story. And a kid that, again, we've talked about it numerous times. He's worked his butt off. He's done all the right things and has got a passion. And obviously he's got the skill, but his passion and love for football and his ability to just continue to persevere.
Yes.
As think about the names of kids that came out when he was in high school that are not playing anymore, that were big deals, that were big recruits that have come
5
and
stars.
5 stars, 4 stars. And Cody Schrader is now leading the SEC in
rushing. Not only rushing, but touchdowns as well.
Yeah.
So we'll talk how crazy. So we'll talk about that. We're going to talk some recruiting stuff, a bunch of stuff going on. It's winding down a little bit for the 2024 kids. Signing day is just right around the corner. It's hard to believe that we're going to be in November.
Yeah.
And then you have signing day. Speaking of which, Mizzou is going to get a big commitment tomorrow. I don't know what time that's going to be. Do you know what time that's going to be?
Afternoon.
Tomorrow afternoon sometime.
Afternoon.
Mizzou's going to be. So if you're a Mizzou fan, you got to be pretty jacked.
Should be exciting. Yeah, but it's always, people always say, where's so-and-so going? Where's so-and-so going?
Yeah.
I've learned, and you've learned.
Oh yeah.
You don't know until they put that hat on, or they make their announcement. But it is
That's
crazy because the number of times I've seen, like, I've like surefire, maybe not told someone's going somewhere, but they're like, oh my God, this guy's going there, and then next thing you know, it's like about face, and and everything changes, especially now with NIL and
it
how all
change.
that works. It can change in a heartbeat. So
the last second.
But yeah, I think Mizzou's probably in the catbird seat for a number of high level kids still yet to commit, and I think the NIL laws in Missouri probably are very beneficial to those kids, making a good decision and
absolutely
get profit off their name.
Kentucky wishes that they had that.
Yes,
their coaches out there begging people for more money.
Yeah, more money, more money.
I mean, that's the name of the game.
You got Shane Beamer, dogging Mizzou for their lack of facilities for doing the post-game press conference.
Oh, really?
He complains, it seems like, after every game, whether he's kicking something, breaking his foot, or he was complaining about Mizzou. I guess had him in a
closet,
and he didn't like it, but it looked fine. They had the backdrop. I mean, you're in there going to talk for 20 minutes and be done.
What do you need? I mean, back in the old days, I mean, come on.
What do you need?
What do you need? Just put a tarp up, put a TV screen up with a logo on it.
But not everybody can have a fancy studio.
Not like this. This is true. I'll agree. I'll agree with that. This is
first class,
state of the art, first class. College football, man, it's just crazy. Week 9 of college football.
Yeah.
And it's enjoyable. There's some parity going on.
The playoffs, I mean, they're starting to pair out. I saw the first allotment or assignment of what they think that the projection of playoffs, what it looks like, and it's pretty cool, right? And then speaking of Mizzou, they're the 2:30 game this week for SEC, so that should be fun.
On the 4th, they're going to be 2:30.
I mean, on the next game against Georgia, so that should be a
fun.
big game, national television, obviously good for recruiting.
Going to be great for recruiting because even kids that were playing on Saturday, not really going to be playing on Saturdays anymore.
And you got Brady Cook, his first meaningful reps in a high level game were at Georgia, if you remember, a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
And, there's a whole backstory behind that. He was, really, really in a weird spot because there was a quarterback controversy and Connor Baselak wasn't playing his best. And, man, that's crazy. Have you seen Connor Baselak was at Mizzou, went to Indiana. Now I think he's at Bowling Green.
Oh yeah,
I mean, it's unbelievable. Magic carpet. He's all over the place.
They're one of those guys. Who was the guy who was? I mean, he was everywhere. He was at Miami. He might have been at Georgia for a minute. I know you. If I said his name, if I heard his name, I'd know it. I know Martell.
Yeah, Tate Martell.
Tate Martell was at how many different schools? Yeah. Just kept going.
And he ended up being a receiver, and But I think that's a really cool topic to talk about. It's like when you get anointed as a guy early on, sometimes that's the kiss of death.
Yeah.
Right. We're gonna have an interview later with Tony Adams, who's a guy that was not super heralded coming out of high school, which I always could not figure out. But
well, you and I knew.
I mean, we knew early on, and now he's playing the NFL. But I think sometimes that mentality of working your butt off and just doing your thing and having a passion and not reading the headlines and everybody telling you how great you are, right? I think
without question.
It's dangerous, right?
It's very dangerous,
especially with kids. I mean, I had a young kid in my office today, and he was talking about a kid on social media that he follows that has a ton of followers, and he's a middle school age kid. And he actually said to me, he's like, do you think that that's going to affect him long term when he's not the guy anymore? And I said, it's going to be interesting to see how he, parlays that. Is he going to be the best guy coming out of 7th and 8th grade and continually be that guy through his junior and senior year?
Right.
Odds would say no, especially for kids that are older for their age, for their grade. So it'll be interesting to see how that scenario plays out. But I often think the guys that get anointed early, they get a lot of pressure on them. Yeah. It's really difficult to
I'm
live
never
up to
sold.
It.
Yeah, I'm never sold just because somebody's that guy early.
Yeah.
Which is why, I watch middle school football. I watch freshman football, JV football to see, because some guys are late bloomers. Some guys come out and some, I am maybe not as much anymore, but JUCO used to be a thing. I've seen guys come out and they go to JUCO and they're skinny, they're underdeveloped, and they had a couple years in there, and then they come out and they're a high level, P5 recruit.
Yep.
And go and then go on to play in the NFL. But coming out of high school, you wouldn't have known anything. You wouldn't have known that they were anything.
Well, sometimes it's just the fit that they have in their system and how well that they do translating, right? So sometimes let's just use Tony Adams as an example. He was a guy that I knew could move extremely well, right? And he could jump out of the gym. Just testing was
Quick
unbelievable.
Athlete, yeah, fast.
And in high school he had a good career, but it was never like, it was always kind of like, where should we put Tony? Safety? Should we put him at corner? Is he a receiver? And it was just one of those things where he had an injury, but I'll never forget. I had he and Kyren Williams come out. Blaine Gabbert was back throwing, and we went up to a local field, and I had it was Jared Cook, the big tight end, MyCole Pruitt, who's still with the Falcons, and
former Kirkwood player,
and I believe a guy named Dan Williams. I think he was there. He's from East St. Louis, played in the XFL, a little bit in the NFL. I think he was with the Jets at the time. But we needed a couple extra receivers, so I grabbed a young Kyren Williams and Tony Adams were two guys I invited that were high school players. And about it's really funny. We got a picture of Jared Cook and Kyren.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, 6'6", and Kyren at the time was probably 5'7", 6".
Yeah,
I mean, it was pretty funny. And but we're throwing routes, and Blaine turns around and asks, "Hey, who's that kid?" And it was Tony Adams. I said, "Oh, he's Tony Adams." And he goes, "Where'd you go to school?" I said, "SLU." And he looks at me. He was perplexed. He's like, "What are you talking about? SLU doesn't have a football team." He was thinking it was a college athlete. Yeah. And he's like, "What's he play there?" And I said, No. He's in high school." And he looked at me and goes, "He's the second guy I've ever thrown to that I cannot judge his speed." Yeah. Right. And so the interview we have with him a little bit later on, he goes through his combine scores, but he was like a 4.39, 4.38,
mm-hmm.
and 42-inch broad or vertical leap and 11-foot broad jump. I mean, just off the charts. But quarterbacks are trackers, with their eyes, and their brain is calculating where you're going to be in a given space when they throw the ball. And he's like, "I just can't track him." He's like, he is so fluid. And those are guys.
He really is.
Someone takes a chance on them, and they play early in college, and then they play in the pros.
He was fluid and smooth. And the first time that I saw him, he ran like a 4.6 40. He was a sophomore in high school, but you could tell that he was faster than that, right? Because just that speed that you saw on the field and when he ran routes, his change of direction and all that, and you were just waiting. When's it going to happen? When's it going to happen for Tony? Because you knew what was there with a guy like him. And here we are now. So he kept going. And those are the stories that I love, are the guys who you said persevere and keep things going. We're also going to, besides talking with a nice interview with Tony Adams, we're going to talk about the dangers of social media a little bit. Had some stuff happen, and you see some stuff happening all the time. And it just bugs me. And we can remind kids to, kids and adults. I think some adults need to be reminded too.
I think so.
You got to be careful with the social media and what you do, because it's your especially if it's your social media and you're letting people say stuff on it. That's no bueno. That's no good. Or if you're an adult and you want to harass and harangue a high school junior, right?
Over a decision.
50 some odd, well, not just a decision, but their play.
Yeah.
Right there, and they're doing all right. But we're going to talk a little bit about that. Have the Adams interview. Going to talk some high school playoff football. But right now, we're going to be joined by our first guest, Mr. Talan Chandler from Nevada High School. There he is,
JP
Hollywood. Talan, thanks for joining us.
Good to see you, buddy.
Thanks for having me. Good to see you, Matt.
So, a lot to talk about with you. We've known you. Feels like we've known Talan since he was a baby, but it's been a few years. Got to watch you grow and develop and everything. So for everybody who isn't familiar with Talan Chandler, go ahead and tell everybody a little bit about yourself.
So I'm an offensive lineman here. I'm a senior this year. I live in Nevada, Missouri, like you said. I used to be in St. Louis. I'm currently committed to Colorado.
Right. So talk a little bit about your journey as a player from say middle school through now, and your development. And Matt's real familiar. Matt, if you have a question about that or wants a comment about that.
Talk about the different positions you might have tried.
I think I played linebacker up until about freshman year.
Yeah.
I've been training at elite since I was in second grade, and I mean always been there for me, and it's been great. The coaches there are unbelievable, and Jamie Pond, the offensive line coach, I think in 6th grade, and Matt, him both told me, you're going to be an offensive lineman, so you better start working. And so when I got to high school, some people got injured, and I got my opportunity to step up, and it's just kind of gone from there. And I played tackle my first couple of years, and then I got moved to guard whenever I transferred to Nevada, and now I'm projected to play center at the next level.
So along the way, training at Elite with Jamie, did they bring up about the possibility of you being a center down the line?
Yeah, they mentioned it a bunch of times just because of my size, and so Jamie would sometimes work on that, and they'd mention like, hey, you're smart enough to be able to play it, so you can work on it. So when I'd train and when we do one-on-ones, I'd work at all 5 positions.
Yeah, and so you never had a problem with that. I know a lot of guys will be like, "Oh no, I'm a this or I'm a that."
I was pretty adamant that I was going to play. I was trying to play tackle, but then they told me you're not tall enough to do it, and everyone was telling me I was going to be an interior player. So you kind of just got to realize if you want to play at the next level, there's certain things you have to kind of say, okay, I'm getting my opportunity with this.
But I do think it's good that you're able to have that opportunity to train different positions and then start when you're, younger playing outside and then move in. I think, having that ability to do that is really good. And that experience is really good. I think, something that I admired over the years is that yes, you played some 7-on-7 as a linebacker and tight end type of guy. And you wanted to do all that and you trained and worked your butt off at it. And then, at some point you start to realize like, hey, you're not going to, the way you're built and how big you are and strong you are. I mean, he's got big legs, big lower half. I mean, it sets up perfectly for what he's going to be playing in college. And you start to see that. And sometimes I know as a young guy and you have other coaches saying like, hey, I know this is what your idea is and what your plan is. Maybe not going to be a linebacker. That's not saying you couldn't be a linebacker. It's saying we're projecting you and starting to help you get an understanding of where you might be. And I know that could be frustrating as a younger player, but I think you and obviously you have a great support system with your family, and you've been around guys. But I think when you finally made that transition, inside, you blossomed, right? And I think that's a huge, testament to you being open-minded, but also at the same time, putting your mind to your goal.
Yeah, and like you said, the support system was definitely there. And even with you guys, like I trusted you guys whenever you told me, because I've never had a bad experience with you. Every camp I've been to, I always get compliments on my technique, and that's because of you guys.
Hey, so JP, this is a pretty good story.
He's going to tell a story about
you. You can give us more, but you were at a camp, and Miles McVay was with you, and some kid, I don't know who the guy was. You can say yay or nay, I don't know. The cheap shot at you in the drill, right? And it was one of those things. And you were a younger guy. Miles, I think, was a rising senior. Correct?
I was going into my junior year, and Miles was going into his senior year. Yeah.
And some guy, and how many times have you done one-on-one live, one-on-one unpadded drills? I mean, thousands of times. Yeah, thousands. Which you start that when you're a young guy, right?
Yeah.
So give the story. So you guys were at the camp. What happens?
So we were at the Rivals camp, and he was like a highly ranked 4-star. And I'm pretty sure I was the only kid at the Rivals camp that didn't have an offer at the time. And so like he was all hyped up, and he was a little bit bigger than me, and I was playing guard, and he was running his mouth, talking a bunch of crap. And he just basically, he tried to bull rush me down my middle, and the refs blew the whistle, and he just kept going and pushed me to the ground and like shoved me after he got me on the ground. And then Miles like started strapping up his gloves and walking towards him, and Miles had my back.
Well, I think, that's the whole deal with like those camps, right? Is I think what I find, and you can expand more on this, but you just hit on something. You went in, you didn't have any offers, right? And the tough thing is the way that stuff works, and a lot of people don't understand with those stars and all the different offers, they're not going to give you anything rating out of there if you perform better than everybody else. They're waiting for someone to verify you before they start to do it, which I think is really, it's disappointing, because if you're there to evaluate, you should know what you're looking at and be able to evaluate, right? So were you not told something to the effect of, hey, you're the best lineman we had here, best junior lineman, but you don't have any offers or stars right now, so there's really we can't do anything for you?
Yeah, I was told you're the best junior lineman we have here, and if you had an offer, you'd be a 4-star.
And who told you during the recruiting process that that was how you got your ranking?
You did.
Absolutely. And Matt just hit on something. It's one of the unspoken secrets, but that is how guys get their 4th and their 5th stars. Because I've seen guys, there's a kid, Dayton Hopkins, out of Herman, Missouri. Nobody heard of, right? Until he was just got his first offer. Then all of a sudden he's automatically a 4-star kid. It's crazy. And it depends on who you get your offer from as to how it is. So talk about your mindset and going through that recruiting process. Because I know there was a little bit of stress, wondering when it was going to happen for you.
Yeah, it was very discouraging, the middle stages, because you're hearing all these things from coaches and all these people telling you how great you are, and we love you. We just need to see your junior film, and then you send them your junior film, and they're like, well, we just need to see this, and this from you, and you go to camps and you perform, and even like the national camps, I've had major success at most of the national camps I've been at, and I get told all the time how great I am, and they just were very hesitant. And then I finally had a school come in. Eastern Michigan was my first offer. They came in and they finally gave that trust and said, hey, we want to offer you a scholarship. We love the way you play. And it was just very rewarding, and it was awesome to be able to see all of the work pay off, because you see how long. I mean, it was 3 long, hard years, because I didn't get the offer till it was the last week of my junior season. So it was
which is absolutely mind-blowing. But, sitting in our position, it's tough because you keep telling guys like Talan, like, hey, look, we know what we're talking. Yeah. It's coming. And it's so hard for the families and the kids to understand, like this is like the game that is played. And unfortunately, if you don't have an offer and you're a stud like you are, they slow play because they don't want to show their hand with guys, right? So like somebody's got 50 offers, it's nothing to throw out another offer to them, right? But if they have a guy that they're like, hey, this might be the number one guy on our board, we're not going to offer him until we need to offer him. And then, the MAC schools, by and large, will just pull the trigger because they know what they're looking at. And, the results, the proofs in the pudding. They have a lot of guys go to the NFL out of that league.
Yeah. Bigger schools will try to hide you. Mm-hmm. That's why you get we love you. We just want this. We just want this. They slow play and they hide. But you were always that guy. You were always going to be that guy. So you went from that point to now you're a verbal commitment to Colorado. Walk us through how that all happened and just your thoughts on being a future Colorado Buff.
So actually, I was very blessed. Jamie Pond, the offensive line coach at Elite, he had a connection with the offensive line coach at Colorado, Coach O'Boyle, who came from Kent State. And Coach O'Boyle was recruiting me when he was at Kent. And I think it was like the first or second week that he got out to Colorado, he gave me a call and said, hey, man, we want to offer you. We love the way you play. He said, you're the number one center on our board, and it's basically you commit and we get you for the interior, or we're just going to go focus on tackles. And I mean, they were my second offer that I got. And so we just loved it out there. My family went out there. I know we heard nothing but great things from Matt and Jamie and all of them. And Coach O'Boyle is an awesome guy. And it just going out there and visiting, and Coach Prime, the whole program right now is just on the up and coming. And it was just an amazing experience. And it's been nothing but great since I've committed.
You guys got out there fast, right? I mean, you went out with I believe you and your dad, and then your mom came the next trip or something along that line?
Yeah, so I think they offered me like the first or second week of January, because I remember it was during basketball season, and then I committed like the second or third day of February. But we visited on a junior day, which was like the middle of January.
Well, I mean, obviously they have great things going. Coach O'Boyle is a great guy. He's recruited the area for a long time. Trustworthy as they come. He's just a great guy. He's a guy, that comes to the Lindenwood Mega Camp every year, wherever he's been, and he works it hard. He's a great guy. I mean, shoot, the poor guy just had a surgery 2 years ago on his legs from an incident and from an injury. And he was out there working the camp. I mean, in 100-degree weather. So he is a stalwart, and he is a guy that actually, just gets great results out of his players. And he's just a player's coach. Like you're gonna love playing for him. And he's a guy that communicates. I know he and Jamie have a good relationship. And I think he trusts the work that we put in. So
you've been out there to games this year?
Yeah, we went out for the Colorado State game, so that was a fun one, double overtime.
Barn burner.
I'll bet.
We had homecoming the night before. We woke up like super early in the morning, got on a flight, and we had a full day. They had a whole day planned out for us, and we were up from like 4 or 5 in the morning because I didn't sleep after the game until 2 in the morning.
So is it sunk in yet? And it seems surreal. You're going to be playing for Coach Prime. I mean, I'm sure that he's just a quote a minute to be around.
I mean, Coach Prime's awesome. I always crack up because every time he sees me, he says, "That's my guy right there," and makes sure to stop and give me a hug. And he always stops and talks to my family. I mean, he is so genuine and just such a great guy. And just the way he is as a person and as a coach is something that I'm really looking forward to.
Anything you want to tell Buffalo fans, Colorado Buffalo fans? I know there's some watching.
I mean, hey, we're coming. I'm excited to get out there in either January or December, and get in and start competing. We're having a good season right now. I hope we make a bowl game so I can get out there for bowl practices, and then next year is going to be the year we show out, especially being in the Big 12. So you're
going to get that jump start in spring ball going mid-year. Great. So you do have to finish up your high school season. You guys are what? You got 8-2 or 6-2?
We're 7-2.
7-2. I know that's disappointing, but you've lost to some really good teams.
Yeah,
that last one was tough.
It really was. I mean, we had a 2-touchdown lead, and then we fumbled on a kickoff, and they scored 20 points in the fourth quarter to win it. So it's just, I mean, it was tough, and they're a very good team. I mean, I think people have them rated as the best team in South. They're very physical, very fast, they're one of the most disciplined teams I've ever played. They don't make mistakes.
Yeah. They're 9-0 for a reason. Yeah.
They're very methodical on offense and just 5-6 yards every play, and they run the ball hard. I mean, I think I played like 47 defensive snaps that game, and that's the most I've ever played because they just ran the clock down, and their last drive was like a 6-minute drive.
So tell us a little bit about Nevada football. What's your team like?
Disciplined team. We're hard-nosed, run the ball down your throat. We're a shotgun double wing. Coach is very old school, but I mean, our running back this year, he's at like 1,600 yards and 24 touchdowns. So
Cheney?
Yep, Jack. Jack is a stud. I mean, if he gets an opportunity, he deserves it. But we're just we focus on doing the little things right. And like I said, we're old school, but it works, and every play comes down to all of us doing our job. If one person misses a block, it throws up the entire play. So, and like we pull a lot, and we are very offensive line heavy. And so that's kind of, it matters that our offensive line is good. And we're very heavy on making sure that the offensive linemen have the technique down.
Yeah.
Well, hey, if you're looking for fun, Talan, what's your Twitter?
What are social media?
Yeah, social media.
My Twitter's just at Chandler Talan.
So go on there and watch his pancake videos.
Oh yeah.
I mean, there's how many? I mean,
17 a couple games ago.
Yeah,
right?
just it's fun. If you just want to see guys dominating, and doing what they're supposed to do technique wise, and then playing the game to the end of the whistle.
Technical violence is what I call it.
Yep.
He's technically violent. It's great. It's a lot of fun to watch. Anybody else you want to give a shout out to on the team, since so in case they're watching?
Jack, Grady Stewart's a good player. Our QB, he's young, but he could be a good player for us. Kellen Braden.
Was the main guys?
Yeah, all of our offensive linemen they've been very pivotal. They've been very pivotal for us. So
great. Well, good luck in the playoffs.
Hey, real quick, did he have a special announcement yesterday?
You did? No, he had it today.
Today,
special announcement today.
Yeah.
You got something cool happening to you today.
Yeah, so I'm going to be a U.S. Army All-American.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
How many does that make, Matt?
I think we're over 15 U.S. Army All-Americans, and then probably another 10 Under Armours.
I'm still hunting for that Under Armour one.
That'll probably show up at your doorstep, I would imagine. So yeah, they usually bid it out on each other too, and battle it out for the top guys. So You clearly are a top guy. You've worked your butt off for it, and we could not be any more proud of you, Talan.
Absolutely, you're the poster boy for hard work and perseverance and building off of what you've done before. Because I always say keep building, and that's what it means. You the whole time and getting to watch over these years, that's what you've done is just kept building, and in the end, it pays off.
Yep.
Well, Thank you. And I'm super appreciative of you guys, all the support you've showed me, and I'm ready to get back to work, Matt.
Let's go.
All right. Let's go. Thanks a lot, Talan. Good luck in the playoffs this Friday. Who you guys play?
It's probably going to be Grandview. We don't know for sure yet, but it's either going to be Grandview or Kansas City Center.
Gotcha. All right. Good luck, and hopefully I'll see you out there at one of your games.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Bye. Have a good night. Just such a great story. Talan's just such a great story to watch him. We should have told him, tell your dad if you're still watching. And hi, Mr. Chandler.
They are,
Dr. Chandler.
And his brother, Trayson, was a long snapper at Memphis.
I'll tell you.
One heck of a snapper.
Talan's a guy we could have just went like a half-hour interview with because there's so much stuff and so many stories and everything.
So he's one of those guys who he and Miles McVay both would like in my office in the facility, like it's kind of a locker room, if you will, stopping off point. But 100%. Not everybody comes in there. Coaches are in there in between sessions. But then like the some of the guys will come in, like the guys that are connected, more with the coaches, and Talan and Miles would be in my office quite often. But guys that are just in there holding conversations with adult men, right?
Oh yeah.
And they're just building relationships. And I think that's why, when you meet him, and he's very endearing.
Kids,
Good
solid
young man, and raised well, and very mature. Just very
mature. And I got to tell you what, I would not be surprised to see coaching in Talan's future. I don't know what he's going to major in or anything like that, but
100%.
He's one of those guys.
So one of the things too, we have guys that will coach right before he moved. He was actually coaching our youth and middle school group as the assistant coach to our O-line guys. So that's always a sign that, that we're letting the kid do that. We're not doing it just for fun. We're doing it because he can help, and he's mature and he knows what he's talking about. And he's one of those guys.
He's one of those guys, and not just high school. I could see him doing it on the next level, on the college level. So great stuff there. Again, playoffs kickoff, the whole Grandview, maybe he's not sure if it's Grandview or center because there was some forfeit situation there with Grandview with some games. And so that I'm pretty sure it might be center though, who they're going to be playing. But, you talked about social media. We talked about that a little bit, and unfortunately, there was an unfortunate incident where some schools had to forfeit some games, and it gets out on Twitter. It's newsworthy, whatever. But unfortunately, somebody tweeted something out there about more of that happening. And then it snowballed into a whole thing. And with grown men taking pot shots at high school kids and a high school program without any foundation to it whatsoever. And it just trickled over at the game. We're because people look for that kind of thing to have an edge to catcall,
harass.
And that stuff needs to stop.
Yeah, and I think you and I, we kind of have been doing this long enough to know just sit back and actually, if it's going to come out, it's going to come out. If there was nothing wrong. Obviously, there's things I hear in my job, and you hear in your job.
I hear a lot of stuff.
Some can be substantiated, some can't be. But I've learned just to kind of, one ear and out the other, because at the end of the day, I'm not a governing body. Let them do their job and figure out what needs to happen and let the coaches coach their programs.
Well, you take a wait and see approach.
Yeah.
And I had people come to me with stuff, and I'm like, look, I don't talk about anything till it's official, because there's nothing to it until it is, because otherwise that sort of stuff happens. And then people are apologetic or whatever, but the damage can be done, already. Cause once you want to throw things or accusations or labels, and I'm not saying that, any one person did that or blaming any one person, but you gotta watch that stuff.
Yep.
Especially with your own social media account. You have to be careful with that. And
agreed.
Because I know I shut down a lot of stuff, and especially I get a lot of stuff because I'm always tweeting about particular players. I get haters on there all the time who want to dog a kid, and I shut that down immediately.
I think, again, like, why? It's a kid. Like, they're first of all, they're in their learning stage. They're growing, right? They're not perfect. None of us are perfect, but at the same time, like, they don't need to hear any of your thoughts about their playing, or they happen to play for a team that you don't like, or they're committed to a school you don't like. I mean, it's their life. Let them live it. I rarely get involved in the recruiting, like, of telling kids, like, where you need to go to school or any of
Right.
that. I would rather, teach the learning lesson of, hey, this is what you need to look for,
Right.
and then let them make a good decision.
Well, what you and I do is try to help kids, and what we see is the antithesis of that, where people are attacking kids or wanting to make accusations or call names or allowing other people to do that. That's not helpful at all. They are kids, and all these kids have dreams, and all these kids have aspirations,
Yep.
and they're trying to be something, and they're trying to do something, and football keeps a lot of kids out of trouble.
Yep.
So why would you want to hate on that at all, just because you want to be a fanatic about, I don't know, your kid's team or some other team or whatever like that? So just, use some more common sense. Everybody needs to remember they're an adult. And I always hated the whole breaking news or we're first, right? I always prefer to be right. I don't care if I'm first or last. I'm always right.
Yep.
Right. And
Yep,
I'm
that's
very
what the-
humble, but
that's-
I'm always
no,
right
no,
about
you
what
know.
I report. Yeah.
Yeah, because you're going to do the research and figure it out and let time kind of sort it out as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because I see a lot of people who are first with the wrong information. And then, you don't have to apologize if you're not trying to be that person
Correct.
or that organization. So,
Yeah, I used to always laugh. I mean, on my side of the fence with the training, you always hear people talking about doing it for the kids. Well, if you're coaching and you're saying, and you have to say you're doing it for the kids, you probably have bad motives, to be honest with you, because you should not have to tell people you're doing it for the kids, right? If you're coaching and developing, your actions should speak louder than words, right? So, it harkens back to the old Chris Rock, I take care of my kids joke. Well, no, you're supposed to take care of your kids, right?
right.
If you're coaching, you should care about kids. And I think it's really interesting that, this world draws in a lot of people that are hanger on,
want to be involved,
people that want to live vicariously through other people. They want to be in the know, all that stuff. I mean, I am constantly shocked.
It's a fun world to be involved in.
Yeah, but it's funny. I kind of keep my head in the sand with some of it because I'm just, focused on developing and training the guys that we work with and helping them to the best of our ability. And then you'll meet someone that's, an adult male that's super over the top in the recruiting and knows all the scuttlebutt from, a recruiting board.
Yeah.
And I laugh and it's like, well, most of that stuff is just wrong.
Right.
But again, I mean, it sells subscriptions. It sells,
Yeah. And that goes back to what we were saying before, about the whole, just take it.
Something, JP, too, something to let people know. So you got like the rivals, the 24/7s, those guys do like the recruiting analysis, and then they sell subscriptions.
They're fan services.
So they're a fan service. But then you have this recruiting service, which is like an NCSA or Be Recruited, things like that, where you as an athlete pay for their services and then it gets promoted out to the schools.
Right.
So a lot of people don't know this. The way that works is if it's a NCAA certified recruiting service, that information gets paid for by the families and athletes, and then it goes free to the colleges, right? On the scouting service side, it is free to the athlete, but the colleges pay for the information.
Correct.
So just do some quick, logical thinking on this. Who do you think the colleges place more validity in? The person that they get the information for free from, or the person or the group that they get the information they pay, for?
Right.
My experience is they place a ton more value in the reports that they buy from professional scouts and scouting services, because that's just the way it works, right? I mean, years ago, I was talking to a coach who's a D2 coach, and I asked him what he thought about a particular scouting service, and then like the emails that he gets with lists of names, and he said, "I just delete it."
Yeah.
I said, "Why?" He goes, "If they have that many resources and they have not yet sent me an email or sent me their film, and they're going through an intermediary, he's like, I don't have time for it." He's like, they need to reach out. So I thought that was kind of interesting.
It is very interesting, and something that I always try to tell players and parents especially is, if somebody is promising you a scholarship, if you pay them X amount of dollars, doesn't sound like a good deal to me. I'm not telling you what to do. Doesn't sound like a good deal to me. Like you said, if somebody wants your information that is a legitimate NCAA certified scouting service, say like a flyover scouting, and they want your information because colleges will buy that information from them, who has more money, the parents and the kid or the colleges to get that professional information?
Yep. That's the way it works.
That is,
And then there's street agents too, the people that will, they're not even involved, they're certified, that will then collect money to promote. And I think, again, you have to just be very careful with
seeing a lot of that pop up.
Yeah, you got to be very careful with that, because believe me, the number of people I know that have been burned or, feel like they had a guarantee. I can promise you this. I am very connected with college coaches. So are you.
Mm-hmm.
I will not promise anybody to get their kid an offer, because it is not my decision. 9 times out of 10, the guy that at the school, it's not even his decision, because it has to be bought off by
consensus.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it goes into a room, and then that's the way it works. So just be hip to the game and understand that, yes, there are people that can help. Yep. There's services that can definitely get your information out there. That's why you got to be going to places where there's people that can help expose, and get your name out there. But at the same time, do not fall for the slick salesman telling you, pay him a couple $1,000s, and then they'll be with you from your freshman to senior year. And then you get an offer that is less desirable that you would have gotten on your own.
Right. And again, we're seeing a lot of that pop up, a lot of places saying that they're going to help kids get notice. And another thing I always tell kids is, if you are good enough, they will find you. Mm-hmm. Don't delude yourself into thinking, oh, I'm slept on, or this. They find talent no matter when and no matter what. They always find it. We talk about some players like Cody Schrader. He took a different path, but guess what? His talent was found. And now he's leading the SEC in rushing and in touchdowns. So what have we learned? We learned, be careful who tells you they can guarantee you anything, especially a scholarship.
Yep.
Right. Whether it's through their service, through their promotion, through their combine, through their camp. Right. You got to
just look at the results. I would never tell you come to our combine, you're getting an offer.
Right.
But
results speak for
themselves. You should also look at the results. There's literally 30 plus guys that have done it over the years that have played in the NFL, and thousands that have played collegiately.
College football.
Right?
Absolutely.
It's the who's who,
including present day.
Yeah. Right. And who's who of kids in St. Louis. And you'll see, especially those younger guys, those freshmen, 8th graders, freshmen, rising freshmen, rising sophomores, they come, and one of which is a huge recruit. And I will never forget talking to Ryan Wingo's dad and Jeremiah Love, the same one. They both ran extremely well. Ryan was going to be a freshman, and Jeremiah was going to be a sophomore. Talking to both their dads about how well they ran at the combine that particular spring.
Oh yeah.
And I said, you just watch. They're gonna both blow up. And yes, that's not the only reason, obviously, but it is a start, and you can start to prove who you are, and it becomes a really big jumping board, right? If you're prepared.
Oh, without question. I mean,
if you're prepared.
It's so crazy because, like you were saying, one year we had, and they all got nominated for All-Star. Yeah, AC American Cancer Society, ACS.
Yep.
All-Star. Ryan Wingo was one of the guys. Jeremiah Love was another one of the guys. I think Jeremiah McClellan was another one of the guys. And Big Kyren, who's playing down at Baylor, right?
Kyren from Festus.
Yeah, from Festus. Yeah, was down at Joplin. I found him when he hadn't even played varsity ball yet. Don't think he might have played JV. He might have been just a freshman.
Mm-hmm.
I found him, invited him up to the combine. After the combine, and again, I'm not saying this is going to happen to everybody or anybody, but Baylor offers him. Boom.
Right after it.
Because he was a 6'3", 215-pound sophomore, going to be junior, who ran a 4.5 40.
I think what's really cool too is at the combine, you'll see at our elite football combine, you'll see coaches, high school coaches who come are just watching their kids supporting them.
Yep.
And then they've had a college coach interested in that young man, and they'll call and say, hey, he just ran a 4.5 or 4.6.
Oh yeah.
And then by the time the kid's done with the combine, I forgot one of the Nebraska had offered a kid right at that time. And it was really interesting, but it was happened so fast.
Jimmy Swain from Lee Summit, Missouri.
And so, one reason that, people, we do not do our combine in December, January for a specific purpose. And I can tell you why. A, your body's not recovered from the season. B, you need to work out and be at in a good form, right? So
you have a good showing.
So coaches want to see the last time they tested you was in the summer. So June, July. Well, if you do it in March, February, March, they can see what your height is, They've already had a chance to see your film from the season. Now they can verify your height, your weight, your speed, and your explosiveness. So that is the next phase for them to start to kind of figure out where you're at in your progression. And I think that a lot of people don't understand like how it works. So like you're looking at that late winter, early spring is the perfect time to get your name out there because they've had a chance to get through their recruiting class. They're now looking to the next groups. You can verify who you are, what you're about, and then start to send that message to them. And hopefully you've piqued their interest with your game film from the year.
Oh, absolutely. And the main thing I would say is you hit on it right out of the gate is you want to recover from your season. You want to recover from your season. You want to get a little time to prepare because you want to put your best foot forward. You want to have your best showing. You don't want to go right from football into trying to run your fastest, jump your highest, and just, be your most explosive.
Yeah, most guys have lost weight and have slowed down during the season. Yeah. That's just football.
That's how it goes. Yep. If you're doing it right.
If you're doing it right.
If you're doing it right. All right. So we had talked about all that. We talked about the combine, the elite combine. One of the former participants who's playing in the NFL at the elite combine is Mr. Tony Adams, St. Louis University High graduate and University of Illinois.
Yeah, I had a chance to talk to him. He was home on the bye week, just coming off of a big win where he had a game cinching and clinching pick where they ended up score. He picked Jalen Hurts off. And I had a chance to catch up with him. He was at the facility getting some body work in, and he was in there doing some workout, doing some light movement stuff and DB drills with another former SLU teammate who's now going to be playing the USFL, former NFL guy, Daniel Isom.
Oh, nice.
So they were in there together. We're going to have Daniel come on one time, just talk a little bit about his experience in the NFL and getting injured, and now he's working his way back through the ranks. But Tony, it's a great interview.
Here's current NFL New York Jet, Tony Adams.
All right, we have Tony Adams with us. He is a longtime friend of our facility and training program. He's now a safety with the New York Jets. Tony, real quick, did you play youth football?
Just a little bit. I didn't like it. I went in love with it, so I kind of quit it. I really didn't want to play ball.
And then you started playing again in high school.
High school, picked it up, and then kind of just fell in love with it.
I think that's really important to know is that, as a little guy, like you just got to, go with the flow, and if it works, it works, and then you get to high school. So where'd you go to high school?
St. Louis University High, St. Louis, Missouri.
Perfect. And then how was your recruitment coming out of high school?
It was kind of slow. I didn't have a lot of big offers, a lot of FCS, and then I had 2 FBS offers. I had Mizzou and I had Illinois, and it was starting to pick up until I tore my ACL.
Yeah, getting hurt that senior year can be really difficult. But as we were just talking about, it all happens for a reason.
All happens for a reason.
Next thing you know, you're doing your thing.
Yes, sir.
So coming out of school, what happened after University of Illinois?
When I got there, I was the first freshman to play start cornerback since Vontae Davis. So they was pretty high up on me. Then I got injured again, tore a labrum next year, broke my hand. So I dealt with a lot of injuries in college.
What do you think your experience made you a better player when it all was all said and done?
Yeah, 1,000%. It made me take a look inward. Tried to learn a lot, learn more about the body, learn more about myself, and ultimately it taught me, it was instilled in me growing up, just perseverance, hard work, and always when you got a mission to stay focused on it and avoid distractions.
I think that's key, is avoiding distractions. So rewind back a little bit. In high school, you started, coming in here when you were a young guy. Yeah. Freshman, you were, as you hold the distinction of starting as a freshman at Illinois, when we had the St. Louis Rams high school player development team, you were the only freshman that we ever had that made it. And then that was the last year they did it. But you were a key member of that team. And what can you say about your time, doing your 7-on-7? You did that, and then you ended up doing Midwest Boom as well.
Exactly. I think 7-on-7 is a great thing, especially like the opportunity it gave to me. It gave me to play against the best competition around the United States and just represent my hometown, represent St. Louis, Missouri, and just going against that competition, knowing I'm the youngest guy, knowing that I'm playing seniors, juniors, and stuff like that. Like, it's no other way to build your confidence. Like no better way. Like in the competition, only gonna make you better. So it was an awesome experience.
Yeah, big plays, but I think, what was your experience doing the Midwest Boom?
I think I wouldn't trade the experience for no other experience. Like, you going against guys from across the country, competing for their state, you know what I'm saying, competing for their team, and then you going against these guys who got all these offers, and you dominating them, you killing them, and it kind of make you feel like, man, forget these guys. I'm the guy, you know what I'm saying? And the best part about it is I was representing St. Louis. I think that's the biggest thing, where people get it misconstrued. Like, you could go all over the country and play for these other teams and do all this other stuff, but why not help your own state? Why not help your area? And this, like, why not represent St. Louis?
Now you come in year 2, starting.
Yeah.
Right? Had a heck of a training camp. Your name was all over social media. You're making buzz. We obviously watch everything to make sure to check up on you. We saw things were really going well. Season starts, doing great. Coming off of you're on a bye week, right? And had a heck of a game and had a game cinching, winning interception, which led to the score that won the game against the Eagles. So how'd that feel?
It was a surreal moment. It's like you living through your dream, and then like those plays you imagine as a kid, like it come to pass. So it's no better feeling. But the greatest thing about this game is, like, you could live in the past, but you only as best as your next outing. So forward to the Giants.
So you're back home. You have an off week. So what do you do? What's the goal while you're off?
I think what got me this far was the consistency, the hard work, and the love of the game. So every time I'm home, I'm always in here at an elite football academy. Like, I'm always here. Like, this is just what I do. This is who I am. So I'm just doing what got me here, and it didn't work so far. So I'm gonna keep doing that.
In closing, what's your word of advice to a kid that's a sophomore, junior, maybe a freshman starting football that has aspirations to go where you went?
If you want to get to where I am, man, thank God I am where I am. It takes a little bit of being obsessed with it. It takes a lot of being in love with it, and it takes enough discipline to understand it's going to be a million different options and choices and roads you could go down. But if this is your dream, like you say it's your dream, you got to focus on your dream, and just love the process. Just love it.
Love it. All right, TA, we'll be watching the rest of the season.
My guy, thank you.
That last part was terrific.
He nailed it. He nailed it.
100%. That hopefully every young person who sees this will remember those words, because you do. You got to be obsessed. You got to love it. You got to have the discipline. And part of that discipline is not letting the other stuff, because like you said, you got a lot of different options, and he didn't go into details, but there's bad stuff off the field that you can have as an option, or you can stick with this.
And he is, when he was talking like that, I just thought, well, I guess clearly he's been listening to the show, right? We talk about it
every week,
constantly.
That's how we lead it off.
But he is a competitive human being, right? And I think that
really is.
The discipline, I don't know that people quite understand. I think last week we talked about it. I said, do you love football? Do you love the thought of football? Right? And I think, that can go over your head pretty quickly as like, well, no, of course I love football. But to get to where he's at, and I'm not even talking about, the NFL, great, but get to where he went, right? So maybe your level is D2. Maybe your top level is FCS. Maybe it's NAIA. Maybe it's Division I FBS. But it does not matter. To get to that level, you have to do what others are not prepared to do and willing to do, right? I talk to my little junior football team constantly about playing at a level of altitude that other people are uncomfortable at, right? If they're uncomfortable breathing at that high altitude, stay up there. They won't stay for long, and they will fall off. So that's that constant competitiveness, focused on discipline, being consistent. Tony Adams is a guy that just embodies that. It's no accident he's playing in the NFL. It's no accident that he beat out. There's another part of that interview that we'll put up, where he talked about, he strategically chose to go to the Jets against other people's advice, but he had 7 safeties that he had to beat out to make the team.
So check that out. I'm going to put that up on the YouTube channel, as well as we have a website, football360show.com. Go check that out. There's all the videos that you find. If you're not watching on YouTube, you can go there and find all the previous shows and all the videos on that stuff. Want to talk a little bit of playoff football before we get out of here. It is the fastest football hour on the planet. It just goes by so quick.
So fast.
Pro Joe came up with that little tagline, and we're going to steal it and use it. We're going to use the heck out of it. So we'll see how many we can get to here. But Class 6 is going to start off with, and obviously Lee Summit North, we had Coach Mosey on last week, and they're just currently sitting at number 1, and they're in a pretty good position, still undefeated so far, but they may be in the toughest path to get there because they still have to go through, ultimately, most likely, future matchups with Rockhurst against Nixa, who's also undefeated. We had Jackson Cantwell on the show, and then Liberty North, who they beat in game 1, but who has not lost a game since and is really rolling.
And we'll be ready to play them again, right?
Absolutely. You got the revenge factor there. And so then on the other side of the state, the west side, you'd have Liberty North, and their path isn't as difficult. They do have an undefeated Oak Park team that they're likely going to wind up facing a few weeks down the road. And then, of course, Lee Summit North. So you're looking at that. Over here on the east side of the state, DeSmet is in pretty good position, although they lost that game to Edwardsville last week, which was a little shocking.
Yeah, definitely.
And
a bit of a speed bump going into the playoff.
Yeah. You hate to see that. I know Coach Merritt, when they win going away, he's like, oh man, they're killing me. So I can imagine what Coach Merritt was like. And they go through their path isn't as difficult. Most likely Rockbridge or Troy Buchanan are in their path. And then the other side is incredibly difficult on the east side of the state, with CBC in the same path with Marquette, who's 7-2, Lafayette, who's 8-1, Seckman, who's 9-0, and then Jackson, who's 8-1.
Yeah, and you got to go down and play them most likely. That's no fun.
So that's, all good teams. When it gets to the quarterfinal or semifinal, I imagine there's going to be really, really good matchups.
Yep. Very good matchups. It'll be really interesting to see who that Final Four is, right?
It really will, because you have good players on both sides. CBC is just kind of sitting there, though. I know they had that tough loss to DeSmet.
They're dangerous. They just beat up on Warren Central. I watched a little film on it, and they just beat up on them, right? They've arguably had the toughest schedule, right? They played Lipscomb Academy. They went down and played a team in Bryant, I think Arkansas.
Yeah.
They and they were, I guess, 2-1 out of those matchups,
right?
And then lost here locally, so they'll be dangerous.
Go anywhere.
Coach Pingle will have them ready.
They will. 2-time state champion, or can they three-peat? I spoke with Coach Pingle before the season about how difficult that would be, and so it'd be interesting to see if they jump up.
Yep.
They might be 6-2, but it's a dangerous 6-2 to be at. And so Class 5, similar thing. You have Cardinal Ritter in their path, probably going to face St. Dominic, who's 9-0 down the line. Hazelwood East under Coach Bobby Cole done an incredible job, 8-1.
Yep.
Which is difficult because I got to tell you what, most of the kids who are players in North County and in that area, they go elsewhere.
Yep. They're at other schools.
They go to private schools. Some of them might go to schools outside of the state. You never know. And then MICDS, that'd be an interesting matchup as well.
Definitely.
But so that little path is going to be interesting. Helias, who played Cardinal Ritter close, is also has a fairly decent path. Their Capital City, North Point, probably their biggest competition. And then a team from Southwest Missouri, Lebanon, is 9-0, and they look like they're pretty much going to go through there. Nothing's for certain in a game of football. Anybody can pop up and beat anybody on any given day. And then Green Valley out of Kansas City area is 8-1. Has a really good running back, Ty Williams, who's just run for over 1,500 yards, 6 foot, 210-pound kid who just runs over people and has speed. And they're going to be their path is most likely Raytown South. And then you have Webb City and Platte County, who I spoke with Rocco Marriott. That's why I was in Kansas City last week. Spoke with him and Jack Oots, tight end, both 2026 kids who Rocco has a offer from Mizzou already amongst other schools,
Yep,
and I think you're
UNLV.
familiar with. Yeah.
Actually, I had a baseball scout ask me about him.
Really?
the other
Yeah, he
day.
can play baseball.
Yeah, he asked me if I knew him. I know his dad, so he's
You could go either
big, strong kid. He said he thinks he could be a guy who could go either way.
He really could. I mean, he's a heck of an arm. About 6'3", 200 pounds. Just can just really sling the ball. Some recruiting info before we get out of here. Some guys picking up recent offers. Talking about Liberty North, Sean Ross, 6'4", 230-pound defensive edge rusher. Just legit 4.5 or lower, 40 at 6'4", 230. Picked up an offer from Alabama this past week. Some other offers. Will Kemna out of Jefferson City, Helias. K-State offered Lucas Allgaier from MICDS, guy we're both familiar with, 6'6", 250, was offered as an offensive tackle by Kansas State. Very athletic, big guy. Titan Davis, another guy we spoke about on the show with Coach Merritt recently, picked up his first offer, just a sophomore, 6'5", 235, offer from Kansas State. DJ Miller from Ritter, Colorado, and Kansas offered. Jacoby Oliphant picked up an offer from Colorado State. He just picked up another one, came across my Twitter feed, and I'll have to think about what that, or he's going to be down at Oklahoma State, which I wouldn't be surprised if they offered him. He's
they've done well. Cam Epps doing great down there from
absolutely.
Starting.
And sort of similar player, right?
Yeah,
6'4", 200-pound kid, very athletic, can run. And then Brady Kerperin from Blair Oaks committed to Air Force, and then Dante Birch from Christ Prep in Kansas City committed to Wyoming. So all kinds of stuff. We didn't even get a chance to talk in-depth Mizzou this week, which...
Yeah, bye week. It'll be good. Get to see a few guys this weekend coming home. So
we hit the basics.
Get to see that. Hopefully might get an interview or two from some guys, talk to them. But hey, before we get out of here, I definitely want to send our thoughts and prayers to a good friend of ours, Brett Gabbert, who suffered a very devastating break of his leg in their game against Toledo this weekend. He was leading the MAC in passing and touchdowns, on track to be the MAC Player of the Year. He was just the MAC Player of the week before, and suffered a devastating lower leg injury, break where he had required surgery. So, knowing what I know about him and his family, there'll be perseverance. There'll be, make sure everything's A-okay, and he will be back. He will compete. He's a warrior. The kid works his butt off. Cannot say nice enough things about he and his family. Just good people. Yeah. And you hate to see it happen.
Yeah, heal up fully and come back better than ever. So before we get out of here as well, our social media, people can reach you on Twitter and Instagram at?
Yep, Twitter is Elite Football, and then Instagram is Elite Football Academy.
And for me, JP Rock MO. If you're a player and you watch this, tag me. I retweet everybody's film who tags me. It's good, free promotion for you out there. College coaches will at least take a glance at it. No promises of scholarships, but they will at least take a glance at it. And on Instagram at JP Rock Scouts U, the fastest hour of football talk.
Yeah. Hey, send questions in. If there's topics you want us to talk about, definitely we're game to do it. Just let us know.
Absolutely. And last thing before we get out of here, if you're interested in sponsoring like Wentes does, contact Megs at 360 football or Megs at football360show.com for advertising and sponsorship information. Appreciate everybody watching, everybody who's going to see this, and we're going to talk to you next week for your Tuesday Night Football Fix. It is the Football 360 Show. See ya. Have a good week and stay safe.